Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Game On Edmonton for October 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Graham Mosimann. How are you, friendo? Have you emotionally recovered from the Oilers' loss on the weekend 4-1 at the hand of the Dallas Stars? I know it was a few days ago, but the wound is still there. It's not like we beat them in the Western Conference final or anything, though. That wouldn't make any of us feel better. Except for me. Thinking about it makes me feel better. Whole lot to get to on the show today, including blissfully brand new lineups set for your Oilers as they get set to return home for a quick game against Carolina. We have an interview with Woodcroft. Look at that popping up out of the woodwork. And we're also going to get to some kind of fancy stats that show some pretty concrete evidence that the Oilers are not in as bad a shape as some of the big time hockey people may have you think. Before we get to that, though, I want to tell you all about the flagship show on the Game Over Network on our network channel. Hyperdrive Hockey covers all things hockeys in various leagues in multiple countries. Whatever it is and wherever it is, Max, Daphne, and Kev have you covered for all of your hockey stuff with a whole blob of silliness and fan engagement. If you head over to the Game Over Network's YouTube channel, you can find Hyperdrive Hockey there, or subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts and check out their show page at thegameovernetwork.com. All right, let's start with some really interesting words from one Woodcroft, who, after being somewhat unceremoniously fired after the start of the early season last year, he definitely didn't do that hockey thing where it was like, well, better get back to coaching immediately and not do any self-reflection. To his full credit, he had offers. He said no to them. And he spent a lot of time really kind of focusing on himself and taking this opportunity that he had during the season and during the playoffs to actually go spend it with his family, which is not something he'd been able to do for many, many years. This is all in a story in The Athletic. I'm not going to tell you everything about it and break their paywall thing because, well, we like the folks there. We don't want to make them grumpy, but a couple of the Cliffs notes I will get through. Of course, go read the whole thing over with that particular news organization. But one of the things that really stuck out to me is that Woodcroft still lives in Edmonton. Yeah, just he's good. He's happy. His wife and kids are kind of well embedded in the community as well as he is. He's interviewed for a few jobs. He came in second for the New Jersey gig. Also came in second for the Columbus job. But all those things not panning through, he still decided to settle up in Edmonton. I mean, they do have a cottage in Ontario that they went to vacation at during the summer, but for everything else, Edmonton's still home. Although apparently it can be a little bit awkward when he does on occasion run into Oilers fans who are like, hey, is that Woodcroft? Oh, it is. You're still here. Cool. Cool. Woodcroft is going to wind up somewhere soon. He has to. He's too good of a coach not to. And there's too many mediocre coaching performances right now in the NHL that even I wouldn't be shocked if he gets picked up by, I don't know, Christmas, or if nothing else, definitely next year. He's still in that era of his career where he can probably like jump right to another head coaching job. But if he waits more than a couple years, you think he'll probably have to go down to an assistant or head back to the AHL and try to kind of rehab the image that way. But he did a good enough job here with the Oilers that work kind of shows for itself. And I'm sure old Woody will end up leaning uncomfortably on some things very, very, very soon. So, we're going to get to some lineup changes for the Oilers when they return to action against Carolina tomorrow. We'll get to those in just a quick second. But some really interesting numbers have been going across the feeds of anyone who's still crazy enough to remain on hockey Twitter. And there is no team that has been more unlucky and has more or has fewer goals scored below expected than the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, every time I know we bring up expected goals for it someone has to go, well, expected by who? Expected by math. Math expects the Oilers to be doing much better than they have been, as they have the worst kind of luck rating in terms of just pure goals scored of anyone else in hockey. Now, a big part of that you have to count comes because of the unbelievable performance that Jake Ottinger had against the Oil coming up on Saturday, but also that first game of the season against Connor Hellebuyck, where I know the deserve to win meter is a joke and doesn't make anyone feel better. It just makes us grumpy. But it's enough. It's enough of a thing to note that the Oilers are very close. Now this is for just all from JFresh Hockey, as the Oilers are 32nd in the league at negative 7.6 goals scored above expected. Now, the Winnipeg Jets are almost 6 goals above expected in all situations. This is the really interesting one. The Calgary Flames, who are still undefeated on the season, are only 1.9 goals scored above expected. So their luck has been pretty average, and their finishing has been pretty average, but they've still been able to string these wins together, where the Oilers have had a couple rough outings with that 0-3 start to the season, that their number is just comically bad and frankly due for a turnaround literally anytime soon. Could be as soon as tomorrow when the team goes to take on the Carolina Hurricanes here in Edmonton before they take off and go on a little 4-game road trip. That Carolina game, though, is going to be very interesting because it is going to see the return of some lineups that we got to see in the preseason and in the first game against the Jets. So that is, as reported at the moment, the Oilers are going to roll out with a lineup setup of Connor McDavid, RNH, and Zach Hyman, Jeffrey Skinner, Leon Draisaitl, and Victor Arvidsson, Connor Brown, Adam Kenrick, and Derek Ryan, and then Vasily Podkolzin, Matthias Janmark, and Corey Perry. And I've been really stoked with Pod all season long. I mean, he hasn't been able to quite finish yet, but you got to think that'll come pretty soon, just in the nature of how he's playing and the quality of work he's putting in. Players that have that kind of skill don't stay off the score sheet forever. So it is in my heart of hearts and my hope of hopes that player gets going really soon, because that could be a game breaker. Never mind if the Oilers can get Zach Hyman going, who's been kind of MIA with 0 goals on the season so far. But we will have to wait until tomorrow to find out what happens with that one. I'm Graham Mosimann, your host here on Game On Edmonton. I'll talk to you tomorrow to get you set for that game against the Carolina Hurricanes. And in the meantime, have yourself a lovely day, and we'll talk tomorrow here on Game On Edmonton on the Game Over Network.